we're going to be discussing viral load in the HIV and AIDS. And the presenter for today is Keith Mwebo, whom I am here with in the hub at the Digital Health Institute at UTH. And we will have an interesting panel of subject matter experts, which include Dr. Sivile and several others that I will introduce as the session goes on. So colleagues, as we get to a start, I just want to remind you to register your attendance by following the link that is in the chat box, and also to remind you of the echo etiquette, that you keep your microphone muted unless you are invited to speak. If you have a question or a contribution at the point we'll be doing discussions, please do indicate to us by raising your hand. And as much as possible during the course of the presentation, you could post your questions or comments in the chat box. My name is David Singini. I'll be a facilitator for today. And I'll quickly invite Mr. Keith to take us through the session for today, starting with introductions and any declarations if there are any. Over to you, Keith.
Thank you very much, Doc, and good afternoon, network. Welcome to this ECHO session. We are going to be discussing optimizing viral load testing and management. My name's Mwebo Keith from CDC Zambia. So to start with, let's go through the objectives of this session. At the end of the session, we want to understand barriers to optimal viral load testing and viral load suppression in Zambia, as well as describe evidence-based best strategies to achieving high viral load coverage and suppression rates in our programming. So just highlighting a few definitions, I'm sure these are very familiar to the network. Baseline viral load, simply test done for all newly identified HIV positive individuals prior to ART initiation, mainly done at the same time with the safety labs. Viral load coverage, proportion with a valid viral load test on file among eligible recipients of care. So here we are emphasizing that the result should be on file. And the eligible recipients of care for our settings is people that have been on treatment for more than 6 months. Undetectable viral load, less than 20 copies per mil. It might differ if you are using different definitions, but for our settings, really, we use less than 20 copies per mil. Detectable, greater than 20 copies per mil. For our setting and for our guidelines, viral load suppression is defined as less than 1,000 copies per mil. And unsuppressed, anything greater than 1,000 copies per mil will be defined as the unsuppression. I emphasize the fact that for our Zambian guidelines, because other countries have that benchmark at a different set point. Virological failure, here is plasma viral load above 1,000 copies per mil based on 2 consecutive viral load measurements after 3 months with adherence support. And a hallmark of this adherence support is that as a provider, you should be satisfied that this client has had good adherence to ART. So to start with, we thought we should share a slide on baseline viral load testing because we have had a number of questions and because this is a policy now in Zambia. As we are all aware, there was a memo and in the upcoming 2022 Zambia Consolidated Treatment Guidelines, this will be featured. So recommended for all newly identified recipients of care as part of the baseline safety labs. One of the key things we want to emphasize as we collect this sample is that the requisition form should be clearly labeled. And because our forms are standardized, I have an extract of the form to the right of the slide. Here, this is just a sample of how that form looks on the right side. And this is where we just really tick. If the sample is baseline, you tick yes. That should be enough to guarantee that that particular sample will be handled during processing and resulting as a baseline viral load. What's the rationale for baseline viral load testing? Again, here I know the network will stay tuned to the upcoming consolidated guidelines for 2022. Once the trainings are scaled up, this will also be highlighted. So mainly to address reduce the positivity predictive value of HIV test in view of high treatment coverage. So as a country, our treatment coverage is very high. So to ensure that we are responding to the raw positive predictive value that arises in a high treatment coverage setting, we want to ensure we get that baseline viral load. Also, in our program, we know nearly 30% of those patients who pose as new at a facility, they are actually already on treatment, and we are calling them silent transfers. Additionally, it's for the basis of future monitoring of recipients of care. You are aware that those patients who start ART with a viral load above 100,000 copies per mil are more likely to have challenges moving towards suppression than those who start with less. So for the clinical management of patients, that baseline viral load is important in this era. So just to emphasize that, because the questions we are getting from facility level is that baseline viral load is going to affect our suppression. We are saying do not worry about reporting. The viral load logic in smart care does not include baseline viral load. The logic is done in a way that basal viral load are excluded. Viral load suppression will not be affected because of the fact that these basal viral load results will not be part of the indicator we report either under MOH or under MER. So, case for routine viral load testing. What are the benefits of routine viral load testing? Now we have moved from basal viral load, now actual viral load testing for people who are on treatment, the monitoring of those on treatment 6 months and beyond. At individual level, it's better treatment outcomes than CD4 testing alone, because we know that what starts first is virological failure. By the time you see immunological failure, where you're seeing the CD4 going down, and then you see the signs under clinical failure, it's along the cascade. Someone would have already started failing virological area. So using viral load tends to give us an opportunity to pick the failure early enough. At population level, a reduced HIV transmission, because once we see an unsuppressed viral load, we act on it. And then health system level allows scale up of DSD models and subsequent cost savings, both on the recipient of care and on the health system, because when someone is on DSD, less frequent visits to the facility. So this one from our guidelines, this is just a review of routine viral load monitoring. So basically, to just highlight that once patient is on ART for 6 months or more, routine viral load testing is done, adults and children at 6 months from the time of initiation, at 12 months from the time of initiation, and thereafter is done annually. In terms of how we respond to the results, viral load less than 1,000 copies per mil is deemed as suppression, and we continue supporting the patient to ensure they continue on adherence. And if the patient is not suppressed, the recipient of care is not suppressed, then we enroll in enhanced adherence counseling. And the essence is to provide support so that the recipient of care can resuppress. I want to emphasize that studies have shown that as much as 45% of recipients of care struggle to achieve 80% adherence. We are talking about 80% adherence. So if you give them 100 tablets, them taking 80 tablets on the scheduled day and time. So we see that nearly 45% of them will struggle to reach that target. So for many of those unsuppressed viral load results, the issue is adherence to ART. That's why we need to ensure that we are providing adequate support for adherence. We have the first 4 questions. I'll just read it and then let Dr. Singini lead us. Which of the following is the best choice concerning viral load testing and suppression in Zambia? A, viral load testing coverage has stagnated in the last 1 year. B, viral load suppression rates among children is lower than adults. C, the introduction of pediatric DTG has improved viral load suppression among children under 15 in Zambia. D, all of the above.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mwebo, for taking us through the first part of the presentation. There you have it, network. The poll has been launched, and we invite you to participate and choose your single best answer to inform the presenter on the knowledge gap regarding the subject matter. Dr. Mwebo has spent time defining a number of concepts regarding viral load testing. So now at this point, we just want to understand the information that the network has regarding this concept. And I'll read the question once more. Which of the following is the best choice regarding viral load testing and suppression in Zambia? A, viral load testing coverage has stagnated in the last 1 year. B, viral load suppression rates among children is lower than in adults. C, the introduction of pediatric DTG has improved viral load suppression among children under 15 in Zambia. And D, all of the above. Right, so we are just a few units shy of the 50% mark. Just invite the network to take part in this very simple poll regarding the subject matter. And just to remind you that the polls that you submit remain anonymous, and none of us is able to tell which option you chose. But this is merely to gauge the knowledge on the subject matter. So I'll give it a few seconds before I end the poll and ask Dr. Mwebo to take us through this concept. Right. So also just to acknowledge Mr. Douglas Moyo, who has joined in. He's one of the subject matter experts, and I see Dr. Sivile is also on the call, one of the subject matter experts. We will have Mr. Paulo Chonga. We are also expecting Dr. Shivemba and Dr. Duncan Chanda, as well as Mpanga Simwinga to join us as Mpanga is already in the hub with us. Thank you for joining us. Right, so I'll end the poll now and share the results, and we see how the network has polled today. So the majority of the participants who voted thought D was the correct answer, which is all of the above. And we had 29% that thought C was the correct answer, and the rest of the votes were split between A and B. So I'll hand over back to the didactic presenter to speak to these results and also take us through the next segment of the presentation.
Thank you very much. As we go through the next slides, it will become clear what the best answer was on that poll question. The essence of basically this poll question is to stimulate our thinking. No answer is wrong, but we're just looking for that one best answer. And very good to see the voting from the network. So this slide shows viral load coverage cascade for the country. You can see quarter in, quarter out. In 2019, when we introduced viral load testing, our viral load coverage was 37%. We have managed to improve that from 37% up until Q1 in 2021, where we reached 82%. And you can see that from that 82%, we have basically plateaued. The viral load coverage has stayed about the same within a range of ±5 or ±10. That's the reason we are having this didactic discussion today. What can we do to improve to change this picture? What can we do to ensure that our viral load coverage goes closer to 95%? So it's very clear on this slide that really we have stagnated in the 70s and 80s. So this slide shows viral load suppression in children. You can see that the blue line is for children under 15, and then the orange is for adolescents 15 to 19. Viral load suppression, in Q1 in 2021 last year, we were both standing at 87% for children and adolescents. We have since gradually made an improvement to 93%. But if you remember on the previous slide, the viral load, on this previous slide, the viral load suppression for adults is 97%. So you see that the children are basically falling behind at 93%. If we compare where the adults are, 96, 97%, the children are lagging behind at 93%. The graph on the bottom shows how we have done with transitioning children from a surveillance-based to DTG-based regimens. And this transition has largely correlated with the improvement in viral load suppression that we have seen for children from 88 to around 93%. As you can see towards the end of the graph on the bottom, majority of recipients of care on surveillance have been transitioned to DTG-based treatment regimens. So moving on to the second poll question. For this particular one, indicate true or false. Collecting viral load sample from a recipient of care whose viral load on file is still valid for 2 months for the purpose of harmonizing or synchronizing the next appointment with 6 mmD dispensed is good clinical practice. Indicate true or false.
Thank you so much. There we have it, network. The poll has been launched, and I'll repeat the question. Collecting viral load sample from a recipient of care whose viral load on file is still valid for 2 months for purposes of harmonizing the next appointment with a 6-month multi-month dispensation is good clinical practice. Is that true or is it false? So we will keep this on for a few seconds. This is an very straightforward question, and we would really like to know what your thoughts are regarding this particular question. Collecting a viral load sample from a recipient of care whose viral load on file is still valid for 6 months for the purpose of harmonizing the next appointment with 6-month multi-month dispensation is good clinical practice. Is this true or is this false? So far, over 57% of the network has participated in this poll, which is very, very encouraging. And we're still waiting for that close to 40% that haven't indicated their thoughts regarding this poll. I'll give it a few more seconds just for 1 or 2 more people who are able to poll to give us their thoughts. And remember, this still remains anonymous. Right, so I will end the poll at this juncture and share the results, and then we'll hand over to the didactic presenter to speak to this. So in this particular poll, 67% of the people that polled thought A, which is true, is the correct answer, and the remainder thought B was the correct answer. So majority think true is the correct answer. I'll hand over to Doc to take us through this.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for polling network. So we move on to barriers to optimal viral load testing at facility level. And as we go through this slide, I'm sure you will agree with me that the last 4 questions will become much clearer. What are the issues that hinder collection of viral load for recipients of care that are eligible at facility level? What are the barriers? The first one is low demand creation. And low demand creation speaks both on the side of the recipient of care and on the side of the providers. What we are saying is to ensure that we address this low demand for viral load testing at facility level. When we do the appointment list and are sending out appointment reminders, we are now speaking to the recipient of care. We need to include a message that indicates that when they visit the clinic, they are due for the viral load. We have done very well at informing them that their visit comes in the next 2 days, but to that message, can we add that this visit that comes in the next 2 days, you are also going to be having a viral load test done on you. Secondly, we need to ensure that viral load EIC materials are displayed at the facility. And not only displayed, we can have small leaflets that we hand over to recipients of care as we interact with them. We need to build a viral load literacy among the treatment cohorts.
We have a problem. Anderson, there's someone who's sharing the screen and disrupted ours. Please desist from that.
Right. So we need to make sure that we give them leaflets so that they can read. During health education sessions, we cover viral load and what viral load is and what the benefits are. The materials for health education, providing health education around viral load are in the facilities. We have the ARVs and Health Me. We also have viral load literacy materials by age category. What we are getting from community-led monitoring from recipients of care is we haven't done enough in educating them. This is an area where we need to do more. The other barrier is clinic flow associated bottlenecks. Distance from the clinic review room or the clinic room to the sample collection area can be a barrier. On the part of the providers, we have seen a patient and we have ordered a viral load and given them a form and told them, go to room 10 to go and have your sample collected. The recipient of care, in some cases, they don't get to that room. All they do is they go to pharmacy, collect their medication and leave. And this has caused the discrepancy because sometimes we have done the order in smart care, but the sample has not been collected. Yet we are waiting for a viral load result for which we have not collected the sample. So another good practice to ensure that we are documenting ordering of the sample when you have actually bled the patient. So we need to bridge those 2 steps. We have seen in clinics where the same room where they order and bleed, we don't drop anyone in that cascade. So those are some of the things we need to reflect at facility level from the room where we make the order. Where do we do the bleeding? What are we doing to ensure that the recipient of care do not miss the bleeding room? The other bottleneck is lack of synchronization of appointments. And in the guidelines, when we say we need to synchronize the appointment, sometimes we don't use a language that makes it simple to operationalize. What we mean by synchronizing is make that visit on that day cater for all the things. If a recipient of care you are seeing today has a viral load that is due for 2 months, yet this particular client is eligible for 6 mmD, we don't want to disrupt 6 mmD because we are adding an extra burden on the recipient of care. we can collect the viral load even when it's still valid for 2 months today, and then dispense 6 months. So that next time the client comes, everything will be happening on that same date. This particular activity will only happen once in the cycle of this patient receiving care at your facility. That synchronization should just happen once. So what we advocate for is we reduce the burdens on the patient, as opposed to you give the patient 6 months, then you ask them to come after 2 months for a viral load. They won't come because they have the drugs. Or if you decide to inconvenience the recipient of care by saying, I'll give you 2 months worth of drugs so that you come after 2 months because your viral load is due. What we have done is we have transferred the cost on the recipient of care to come back to the facility when there is something we could easily do to harmonize. So these are the silent features that are actually in the background of synchronized appointments. From our part as providers, every time we interact with the recipient of care, we need to check when their viral load is due. In the slide where we presented and said that our viral load coverage has stagnated, those clients, the 20% of clients without a valid viral load on file, they are coming to the clinics. They are correcting ART. When we go for this, we actually see that some of those clients, some of them would have even been at the facility a week ago and they got medication, but we missed an opportunity to bleed them. Also for recipients of care who are in DS, community-based differentiated safe delivery models, when we provide the medication in the community, we should also have a system to collect a blood sample. When we do that, we can improve the viral load coverage to greater than 90%. There are a few recipients of care where you get a body coming to collect medication on behalf of a client. There are genuine reasons why recipients of care will fail to come to the facility. It's upon the facility now to come up with a system or make an appointment through the body to ensure that on such a date we will be doing HIV programming in this community. We will come and collect the viral load sample which is due. So community viral load corrections should become part of our programming for those hard to reach clients so that we can bridge this gap on viral load coverage. So related to sample movement, at facility and hub level, we do not want samples to be kept for more than 3 days. So we have, because what that does is once you keep your samples at the hub or at the facility after you collect from a recipient of care, is we have already added delays in returning of the result. For high volume, those that provide ART every day, the best is to ensure that those samples are moving to the hub and to the PCR on a daily basis. But where we cannot manage, at most we need to have samples moving twice a week. Because if you do once a week, it means if you are picking the samples on Wednesday, you take them to the hub, and for the clients that come on Thursday, their samples will be at your facility for 7 days. Next Wednesday, before they move to the hub, we have already added a delay of 7 days. And at the hub, if it's once a week, again, another 7 days. By the time the sample is getting to the PCR lab, we have already lost 14 days. And you know that the turnaround time, the national standard is we want the result to come back within 14 days. The clients through community-led monitoring are telling us that the results are delaying. So these are some of the things we can do to ensure that we actualize the turnaround time within 14 days. For small volume sites, those that do have ART once a week or twice a week, and usually they have very few samples, it's good to have on-call courier. When you have samples, you call the courier. The bike comes there and picks the samples, because having a courier pass through every 3 days or twice a week doesn't make sense, because sometimes there are no samples. So these are some of the best practices we need to do. And of course, the ministry is going to be rolling out point of care viral testing for hard to reach districts, so that those particular districts can have viral samples analyzed using gene expert machines. Moving on to the third poll question. Again, here indicate true or false. Ensuring the viral load result is entered in client records in a timely manner and follow up of missing results after 2 weeks of sample collection champion alone. Is it true or false? Is this only for the viral load champion alone?
Very good question indeed. And we hope the polls will demonstrate what is happening in the facilities. And as such, I'll repeat the question. It says, indicate if it's true or false. Ensuring the viral load result is entered in the client records is in a timely manner, and follow-up of missing results after 2 weeks of sample collection is the responsibility of the viral load champion alone. Is this true or false? Very, very interesting question. And these are real issues that we face at the facilities where we work regarding the viral load cascade. I'll repeat the question and say, ensuring the viral load is entered in the client records in a timely manner and follow-up of missing results after 2 weeks of sample collection is the responsibility of the viral load champion alone. Is this statement true or is it false? Now, I'm expecting 100% participation on this one because all of us in one way or the other, irrespective of the point at facility level where we are involved in one way or the other in viral load collection, reporting, as well as recording. So what do you do at your facility? Right, I'll give it a few more seconds. We have quite a tremendous response from the network. We are just shy of 70% participation, which is very rare. So we are hoping to see one more or a few others participate. I'll repeat the question as I am preparing to end the poll. Ensuring the viral load result is entered in client records in a timely manner and follow-up of missing results after 2 weeks of sample collection is the responsibility of the viral load champion alone. Is this true or is it false? There we have it, network. I'll end the poll now and share the results. 90% of the people that participated in the poll thought B, false, was the correct answer, and we had 10% that thought the viral load champion is the one who should do all these roles. So I'll hand over back to Dr. Mwebo to take us through this.
Thank you. The responses show that the network is indeed doing viral load testing and following up with results. So facility viral load champion and her clinical team should understand the whole viral load testing continuum. So what we are advocating for is at facility level, we don't end at collecting the sample and sending the sample with courier. That's not where we end. That's where we start. What we need to know is understand the whole viral load continuum. Once the courier picks that sample, what happens next? The sample goes to the hub. Or if there is no hub, we are near a PCR unit, the sample goes directly to the PCR unit. What happens at the hub? And then how does that sample end up at the PCR unit? And once they have run the analysis, the results are sent back either directly to the facility or through the district. So the clinical team should understand all these steps. What we see sometimes when we go at the facilities, when we ask, the answer is often the viral load champion is not here. So it's not the viral load champion alone who should know. It's the whole clinical team, only that the viral load champion is coordinating that effort. Even if the viral load champion is not at the facility, someone else should be able to pick that mantle and ensure that samples are being collected, samples are being sent. Once we get to 2 weeks, results are being tracked. If we have submitted a sample and at the hub it has been rejected, we get feedback that this sample was rejected at the hub. The whole team now should ensure we track that patient and bleed them so that we can resubmit the sample. So this responsibility, yes, is being led by the viral load champion, but it's not their sole responsibility to do it. As an ART team, we need to work as a unit to ensure that documentation of sample collection is done in the in smart care or in the viral load register at the point of care, depending on whether we are e-first or e-last, entry of results into recipients of care files. An additional ask we are saying now, because our program is becoming excellent, we want, when the results come at the facility, we send an SMS. We have facility phones. Send an SMS informing the recipient of care of the result. And I know the immediate question people ask here is, what if the message is read by a different person? So we are sending generic messages, just as we are sending messages, say your appointment at the clinic is in 2 days' time. We can also send a generic message and say, the results have come good. We'll see you at the next appointment. The owner of the result will know, because we will have discussed. If the viral load is unsuppressed, how are we managing to call them? We call them so that they are enrolled in EAC. So now let's walk an extra step. Let's not only end at informing those with an unsuppressed viral load, let's inform also those with a suppressed viral load, because recipients of care themselves, through community-led monitoring, are saying we are not receiving these results in time. And we know there are programs like in South Africa where they are sending messages, and recipients of care are appreciating that. So this is one thing we encourage clinic teams to start doing. Follow-up of unresulted samples after 2 weeks. So we should ensure that once we hit that 2 weeks, it's the benchmark for the national standard. We should be following up on why we have not received that particular result at the facility. And then when we get the answer from the PCR lab or from the district lab coordinator, we document. And then if they say the results will come after a week from today, if we don't get those, we follow up again until we get a result and document into the client record. So in terms of viral load, unsuppressed viral load, here we are going to highlight the main causes. If we go to patient level, there will be many varied causes, but we are using the public health approach to just pick key causes of unsuppressed viral load that if we respond at facility level, we can improve on viral load suppression. And you might actually want to congratulate ourselves as people that are working in the HIV program in Zambia. That viral load we presented on that slide is good. Very soon you will be hearing the outcomes of Zambia 2021, the viral suppression is also good. But there is something we can still do to ensure we are supporting those that are unsuppressed. So one of the causes is poor adherence to ART. So from program data, we know that for those recipients of care who are unsuppressed, once we enroll them in EAC, 60 to 70% of them resuppresses. So it means the issue was adherence. They were not taking medication. And I indicated that studies have shown that actually of the treatment cohort, closer to 40% don't reach the 80% mark adherence level. So we need to do more on adherence, re-emphasizing adherence for those that are suppressed and for those that are not suppressed. Poor palatability of drugs, and we saw this especially among children, but it's, as we transition to PDTG, it's more or less an issue. It was more common under Kerattra because Kerattra was a bit bitter. That's why you saw that the suppression rates for children were actually low, even when they were susceptible. They had no resistance to PI based. Inadequate dosing for children. Again, this is an issue where at facility level, we are making sure we are adjusting the doses as the weight is increasing. And then some of the patients who have true resistance to ART, and that may be acquired resistance. So how do we optimize the high viral load cascade? for those patients who are unsuppressed, once we get that result from the PCR, we need to enter that in the high viral load register. Immediately, we start making efforts to reach the recipients of care so that we are in contact with them. And once we make contact, the recipient of care comes and gets enrolled in intensive adherence counseling, we should also not forget to screen them for advanced HIV disease. The guidelines were launched, the trainings have been done. One of the populations we need to screen for advanced HIV disease are the unsuppressed. So at the time we call them to the facility, enter them in the high viral register. Once they come, let's do the screening for advanced HIV disease. We need to assign to a counselor for enhanced adherence counseling. And this should not only end at adherence counseling, there should also be psychosocial support. And for those patients that we think need mental health support, linking them to SETA. So psychosocial support for recipients of care may include transport reimbursement, because now we're asking them to come more frequent to the facility, linking them to high viremic clinics where they get support from other clients, also pairing them with expert clients. And here we want clients that were unsuppressed in the past. We enrolled them in EAC, they resuppressed, and they are seeing the benefits of good adherence after not being so adherent to treatment. We are going to call them expert suppressed clients. Once we pair them, they can provide patient peer-to-peer support that is very helpful for these clients. And then we follow up monthly as needed by the clinical team for 3 months. And once we are satisfied with the adherence, we do a check viral load. Just to say that we should be flexible in the follow-up. If we have seen a client, we need check-ins at every 2 weeks or every week, feel free to use that phone call to call the client and do a check-in on how they are doing with adherence. And then, of course, have them come to the facility on a monthly basis. Now, it's important to provide psychosocial support, because sometimes the recipient of care has poor adherences. They are struggling to move from where they stay to the facility to correct medication. Now, when we enroll them in EAC and asking them to come on a monthly basis, we have actually now multiplied that burden of looking for transport money. So if we know the issue is making it to the facility, we need to be flexible on how we provide this adherence. We can provide the adherence via phone and ensure they have medication. So the clinical team needs to be flexible, but ensure that we are meeting the needs of the recipient of care, addressing those issues that have resulted in them not adhering to medication. As a team, the client and the clinic, we need to come up with an adherence plan. And that plan should be bought into by the recipient of care. They are the ones who should be saying, this is what can work for me. That should not come from us, and as we cement it based on the evidence. Then repeat viral load after 3 successful EAC sessions. This is an issue where we are underperforming as a program. For all the unsuppressed viral loads, when we go into facilities, we find we enter them in the high viral load register, we enroll them in EAC, but when you check the cascade, if you look at the number that were enrolled and look at the number that have had a repeat viral load after 3 months, we are basically hovering around 50%. And it's important that we improve this performance, because we don't want to have recipients of care who are unsuppressed in communities, because that is a recipe for more transmissions if people are unsuppressed and at community level. So we need to ensure that we are doing the viral check, repeat viral load after 3 months, and if they haven't resuppressed, taking the necessary clinical decisions. Once we are satisfied with the adherence and someone is still unsuppressed, we switch to second-line ART and then send genotype or send a sample for drug resistance testing as per guidelines, and then we continue to follow up on adherence as we switch them to second line. So in summary, factors that impede viral load testing at facility level are mainly low demand creation. Is there something we can do about it? Yes. By making sure that when we send appointment reminders, we are also including a message. Clinical flow processes, synchronizing visits, ensuring that when they are coming to collect medication, we have tied that to the time they are also having a blood sample collected. And then, of course, we need to do more on health education, teaching recipients of care at facility level so that they know the importance of viral load testing, so that if we have forgotten, the client will tell us, in fact, today I'm due for a viral load, and then we can collect that viral load. From the clinical side, every time we are interacting with the client, we need to check when is their viral load due. And based on the dispensation we are prescribing, make a decision whether we are collecting that viral load today or it will be collected next time, whether it is due today or not, for the purpose of synchronizing, and that should just happen once. Facility teams led by viral load champion must understand all steps in the viral load value chain and actively follow up unresulted samples after 2 weeks. It's not the viral load champion alone, it's the clinical team. It's a team effort. The viral load leads, we all follow and we support. And for unsuppressed, we should know that the number one cause of an unsuppressed viral load that we receive at that facility is poor adherence. About 45% of recipients of care fail to reach the 80% adherence point. So every time emphasize adherence, adherence, adherence. From our own program data, once we enroll them in EAC, we see that 60 to 70% of them actually suppress. So this is the last slide. We'll probably turn it over to the doc for the poll questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moevo, for taking us through this presentation. And indeed, it's very enlightening to listen to him regarding this. And something that struck me the most was on the synchronizing of visits for the patients as they come to the facilities, so that we do the most at each visit when the patient comes to our facilities. So thank you so much. So colleagues, we'll go through the poll questions and just to assess if there's been transmission of information to the network. So I'll go back to poll question number 1 and share that one and ask the network to give us your thoughts after this presentation. So it says, which of the following is the best choice concerning viral load testing and suppression in Zambia? A, viral load testing coverage has stagnated in the last 1 year. B, viral load suppression rates among children are lower than in adults. B, the introduction of pediatric DTG has improved viral load suppression amongst those that are less than 15 in Zambia. And D, all of the above. There we have it, network. Following such a very, very concise presentation, I'd like to see what your thoughts are regarding this. I'll repeat the question. Which of the following is the best choice concerning viral load testing and suppression in Zambia? A, viral load testing coverage has stagnated in the last 1 year. B, viral load suppression rates among children is lower than in adults. C, the introduction of pediatric DTG has improved viral load suppression amongst those aged less than 15 in Zambia. And D, all of the above. Right, so we seem to have a lesser number of people polling on the repos compared to when we initially ran the poll. Just to encourage the network to give us your answers. And remember that this still remains anonymous. I have no way of telling who has polled and who has not, but we encourage you to poll as much as possible so that we can gauge the transmission of information. Right, so at this point, I'll end the poll and share the results. Dr. Moevo, as you can see, we have 80% of the network thinking D, which is all of the above is the correct answer. And we have a few that thought C was the correct answer, that pediatric DTG has improved viral load coverage in those aged less than 15. And then the remainder vote for A or B. I'll allow the didactic presenter to give a comment on this result.
Yeah, thank you very much. So it's just the trickery of multiple choice questions. So in terms of the statements, A, viral load testing coverage has stagnated in the last 1 year. We had that graph which showed the stagnation. Yes, that's correct, but is it the best choice? We are yet to know. B, viral load suppression rates among children is lower than adults. That's also true. We saw the viral load suppression for adults is 96, 97%. For children, it has improved from 88 to 93%, but that 93% is still lower than the adult one, which is at 97%. So is it the best? We'll see. The introduction of pediatric DTG has improved viral load suppression among under 15. That's true. We saw that graph on the bottom. It was correlating. The improvement in suppression in children largely correlates with the increase in the number we have transitioned to pediatric DTG. And then D says all the above. So in statement A is correct, B is correct, C is correct. So which one is the best answer? The one which says all the above are correct is the best answer. And glad that 80% of the network voted correctly.
Thank you so much. So in other words, if you chose A, yeah, you still chose the correct answer. B was also correct, but D was the most correct of them all. Therefore, we'll move on to the next poll question, which is poll question number 2, and it read, collecting viral load samples from recipients of care whose viral load on the file is still valid for 2 months for the purpose of harmonizing the next appointment with the 6 mmD dispensed is good clinical practice. Is this true or is this false? So there are only 2 options to this one. One is correct, one is incorrect. I'll repeat the question. Collecting viral load sample from recipients of care whose viral load on file is still valid for 2 months for the purposes of harmonizing the next appointment with the 6 mmD dispensed is good clinical practice. Is it true or is it false? So I'll not spend so much time on this one so that we get to some interesting discussions after this. I'll just give it a few more seconds to allow that one who might be struggling with network to poll. Right, so I'll end the poll, and I think we have a representative sample of what the network thinks regarding this question. So I'll end the poll and share the results now. So Dr. Mwewa, as you can see, we had 90%. This is an A+ by many standards. 90% thought true was the correct answer, and about 10% thought false was the correct answer. I'll leave you to speak to these results.
Thank you, network. Indeed, true is the correct answer. What we are recommending is that we need to harmonize the clinical visit, the viral load collection, and pharmacy. So if a client is on 6 mmD, they have come today, and we check their viral load is expiring in 2 months' time. We are not encouraging you to disrupt 6 mmD. You give 6 mmD and you correct the viral load today. That is good clinical practice. Because what that does is the next time the client will come after 6 months, they will just be coming to correct medication. This viral load you have corrected today will still be valid at 6 months. Then the second time they come, it will be at 12 months. And they will come again, they will be due for a viral load. So what we have done is we have synchronized. If we don't do that, we will be asking the patient to come after 2 months, which is not very good because we're asking them to spend money. And usually, the reason recipients of care come to the facilities to correct medication. When they have medication, even if you ask them to come after 2 months, they won't. So let's synchronize by ensuring that we have harmonized the pharmacy and the clinical visit and the viral load correction by making such adjustments.
Right. Thank you so much. Here we have it, network. We'll now share the third and final poll for this afternoon, which says, is it true or false? And the statement reads, ensuring the viral load result is entered in client records is in a timely manner, and follow-up of missing results after 2 weeks of sample collection is a responsibility of the viral load champion alone. Is this true or is it false? I really, really like how the responses are pouring in on this poll. And I'll repeat the question, or rather the statement. It says, ensuring the viral load result is entered in client records in a timely manner and follow-up of missing results after 2 weeks of sample collection is a responsibility of the viral load champion alone. I hope those that are sitting in congregate settings at health facilities and the viral load champion is present. I hope we are speaking the same language. Viral load champion, I hope you're promoting the good practices that we've learned today. Right, and I'm really, really glad to see Sister Febi Mwinga has joined the call and participating keenly in the session today. Network, again, is this statement true or false? Ensuring the viral load result is entered in client records in a timely manner and follow-up of missing results after 2 weeks of sample collection is the responsibility of the viral load champion alone. And the word alone was underlined, was rather put in bold for emphasis. Right, so at this point, I will end the poll and share the results. We have very interesting re-poll results. And majority of the network, 94% thought B, which is false, was the correct answer. And just about 6% thought true is the correct answer. Again, Dr. Mwebo, your comments on this.
Thank you very much. So it's not for the viral load champion alone. It's for the clinical team to work as a unit. The viral load champion does lead this effort to ensure that we are coordinated in the way we are conducting our viral load testing, tracking of results, but it's not her individual role alone. That's why the statement is false, because of that word alone. Otherwise, the viral load champion does lead, but all of us working in ART should support her and ensure that we are engaged and involved. Because if we say that is her role alone, it means the day she's not at the facility, no viral load work basically happens. But we know that even when the viral load champion is not there, work continues. So it's not her work alone. We need to work as a clinical unit.
Right. And I like the emphasis that we need to work as a clinical unit. In no way are we saying just the nursing staff alone, and in no way are we saying just the data entry clerks are responsible for this. So the medical officers like myself, we need to get involved so that we move as a collective on this. It's been a very, very good didactic presentation, and dear colleagues, now we'll move into the discussion for the day. We have about half an hour to look through any discussion points that may arise from this didactic presentation. Already I can see there's a hand from Edgar Nindi from ICAP. I will give you the platform in a moment. Just to mention that we have a few questions that have been posted in the chat box, and one of them came through from Akayo Mbokwa from Itejiteji district. I believe this is now under Southern Province. Who asked, what does it take to provide point of care viral load testing in our hard to reach districts? Very, very, very important question. And I'll ask Mr. Douglas Moyo to just quickly respond to this question.
Thank you very much, Doc. So if the facility has got a GeneXpert platform, they can consider activation of the site. So what they can do is just get in touch with the provincial biomedical scientists. So nationally, we have been guided that as a province, before we roll out implementation of the POC, we need to assess the site for capacity. So there's a tool that we use, the point of care integration assessment, and this tool is able to inform us whether we can go ahead and implement multi-disease testing. So if that facility is not a GeneXpert diagnostic center, then they should request the province to consider mapping that spoke site to a hub that is able to do multi-disease point of care testing. Thank you. Over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moyo, for that response. There was another question that came in from Dr. Bosco, who really commended the rollout of point of care for use for its use in viral load testing. But then he went on to ask, how are we going to prioritize the areas in which this facility is going to be provided? So I think I'll ask Dr. Sivile to quickly respond to that question. How are we prioritizing the distribution of point of care facilities? And Dr. Bosco was categorical in saying in some rural settings like Western Province, how are they going to benefit from point of care? Dr. Sivile?
Thanks, Doc. I don't know if Paul is on the chat. He's better placed to answer that question.
Doc, I'm on the call.
Yes, but I know they have like what they call priority viral load testing, and the mapping has already been done. Paul, you can give us some more data.
Oh, thank you, Doc. Thank you. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone joined being on the call. So for prioritizing of sites for point of care testing, we usually are considering the current workload. Is there existing capacity on that platform, for example? We know that all the GeneXperts are being used for TB. So we have some TB high volume sites, and if there is no spare capacity to integrate another disease, then those are no sites. But we do make recommendations to upgrade the machines that are in those sites. So just for the information of our colleagues on this call, up to date, we have identified a total of 9 sites that require upgradation from the 4 module GeneXpert platforms to the 16 module GeneXpert platforms during this, the same exercise that Douglas spoke about, that we do assess sites, and those that meet the activation criteria, then those are activated. But in terms of priority for multi-disease testing, our priority is the far-flung areas, the hard-to-reach sites, and the sites that are mainly far from the conventional platforms. Those are the sites that we have prioritized. But if we have prioritized them, we assess them for eligibility. My submission, thank you.
Thank you so much for that submission, Paul. And it's actually good to hear you note that you are also considering the burden of TB in these sites, because these machines are the same ones that are used for MTB expert reach. Dear colleagues, I see there are 2 hands that have come up. Dr. Nindi from ICAP, you're good to go. Then we'll go to Priscilla Chichali afterwards.
Good afternoon, Dr. Singeni. Good afternoon, Dr. Mwevo.
Afternoon.
I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you quite clearly.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, network. And allow me first of all to say very good presentation, very informative, and I think it sparked something in me. And there are just a few key issues that I think we can benefit from if we discuss as a network. Number one, we are looking at trying to address the issue of viral load coverage. So viral load coverage, we are saying, has stagnated, and in most cases, we are actually, in some parts, we are actually going backwards instead of gaining. One of the things I think which was not addressed in the presentation the number of surge activities around viral load. Every time we conduct like a campaign, we don't follow up with instructions on how we are going to ensure after the campaign, how are we going to ensure that we reharmonize, because these campaigns distort the usual appointments for viral load collection. So we may sort out the problem this year, but what will happen is that these viral loads are going to expire prematurely in the coming year, and we'll be discussing the same problems when the next year comes. So one of the things we need to address, and I think we need to address very seriously, is after the campaigns, I think it's very important, either we give instruction that on the next visit, these recipients of care might need their viral load retaken to ensure that we reharmonize the appointments. Because if we don't, we risk again having most of these viral loads expiring. The other issue we've not clearly addressed here in the presentation on harmonization, yes, you talked about the 2 months window, but the 2 months window, they are on the ground. There are questions that become very serious. Hello? Okay, so on the ground, there are questions that become very serious. You can find that someone's viral load is expiring in 4 months' time. If you wait until the 6 months' time, this person will be late 2 months before they can have their viral load done. So at that point, most clinicians will ask, should I give 6 months or not? So this is again another important point of consideration we need to discuss when we are having a discussion like this one. So I think not to end all the discussions on myself, I'll leave it here maybe for the network also to have food for thought for some of these points and see if it really helps our programming going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nindi, and very, very valid comments regarding the viral load coverage, and particularly the concern on the effect of the surges on appointments, as well as how we are tracking the viral loads for our recipients of care in our electronic databases that we currently use. I see there's a hand from Priscilla Chisha, and I understand Priscilla is sitting with Dr. Thomas.
Yes, Dr. Singini, good afternoon. It was me who used Dr. Chisha's account. Just a clarification under the EX session. The first part it says 3 sessions, and then the second sentence reads viral load to be done after 3 months. So this is one common mistake we see throughout our mentorship. If you say 3 sessions, it's only 2 months. From first session to second session is 1 month. Second session to third session is only 2 months. So most of the clinics are repeating the viral load after 3 months. In their mind, they think 3 sessions means it is 3 months, which is wrong. So 3 sessions is only 2 months completed. So most of them are repeating the viral load after 3 sessions. Ideally, there should be 4 sessions, which makes a complete 90 days of adherence. That's one thing. The other thing, in the viral load monitoring chart, also the same sort of interpretation, because it says viral load, the second one to be repeated 3 months from the first viral load, which may not be true always. If the client is not adherent in that 3 months, the session will get prolonged, because we need 3 months of good adherence. I thought it needs some clarification, because that's a common mistake we see across the board. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas, really for emphasizing that very, 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 very important point. And for the benefit of 1 or 2 that may have missed it, ensure that the patients that we enroll in enhanced adherence counseling have 3 completed months of sessions before a repeat viral load is done. So if at first visit you have a session, that is the first session, and the second session is 1 month later, and the third session is 2 months after the first session. If you repeat a viral load at that point, you'd have collected it prematurely. You need to have it done after 3 completed months of supervised adherence. That is the emphasis that's coming in from Dr. Thomas. Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas, for that. I see another hand has come up from Sinkonde from Lusaka. Sinkonde, you may go ahead with your comment or contribution.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, presenter and the network. I think my contribution is just echoing what Dr. Nindi had mentioned concerning the campaigns and the follow-up. So I think it's just a suggestion for some of the facilities can either pick it up or not, but I think Kanyama sub-district has started using the daily tracking tool of the clients that are due for VL, and also looking at the results that they're receiving so that they're having a real-time information. So it's basically an Excel sheet where they're just looking at aggregated numbers of the clients that they've received results, those they've entered, and those that they need to follow up, so that whenever they are conducting a campaign, you don't have numbers that you are not aware of. And I think we'll be able to share with LPHO when we get the data from the sub-district and see how it's been working. But as Makeni, as a facility, this has been working well, and we're hoping that it can be adopted and sent to other districts as well. Over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sinkonde, for sharing some good practices from your locality. We value that, and I hope the rest of the network can learn 1 or 2 things from that and extrapolate them to their respective facilities. Now, colleagues, there's a very interesting question in the chat box from Elias Siame, who asks, the operationalization of baseline viral load alongside recency testing, are they supposed to be collected as 2 different samples, or the viral load for recency results will be made available to facilities? Maybe I may have read the question wrong. Elias, are you able to just clarify your question? And then we'll have Mpanga, who's in the hub with us, to respond to your question. And then also ask Dr. Sivile to add some comments regarding the same from the program perspective at national level. Elias Siame. Right, so we seem to be struggling to have Elias come on. Mpanga, maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Mpanji on the line. So from the way we've been doing it, so when a sample comes in for recency, it also comes in with HIV viral load samples. So what usually happens is that from the lab point of view, once you test that sample for recency, you already have a sample for HIV viral load. And I like the idea of synchronization because you do not want to inconvenience the recipient of care. You want to do everything as and when it's convenient for the patient. So it's important that you do both of them at the same time, so that you avoid inconveniencing the recipient of care, like it has been mentioned in the presentation.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mpanji, for that comment. Dr. Sivile, from the program's perspective at national level, speaking to recency and baseline viral load sample collection.
Yes, thank you, Singene. First is just to thank those people who are collecting these samples. We went into the database and it is being done. So 2 things. First, like Mpanji has said, we'd like those who are, not all facilities to start with are doing recency testing. So those facilities that are doing recency testing, when you collect the viral loads, you don't have to collect the baseline viral loads. The facilities that are not doing recency testing, they'll collect the baseline viral load. And I hope that is clear. Then concerning results, right now the guidance is the results for baseline viral load will be sent back to the facilities, and I hope the facilities are receiving the results right now. There are some facilities which have already confirmed with us that they do have those results. Secondly, once the results have come, we want you to act on them, on those that have are already suppressed. Those should be treated as silent transfers for now. And what does that mean? It means those patients should be counseled, talked to. You find out if they're already on ART and which facilities they're coming from. Soon, we are preparing a master list for all facilities and contact numbers so that you can contact. The SOPs will be circulated on how to reconcile the data. So the patients simply will be asked, where do they want to, are they passerbys, or do they permanently want to be there? And the data should be reconciled as such in the system. Yeah, so the counseling is important, trainings will be done. So again, we plan to come up with a master facility for all patients, which we master list or catalog for all patients on ART, which you can interrogate. That guidance will be given in due course. Concerning recents, again, previously we were not saying the recent results. Now I mean both the viral load and the recent result from the recent test results. They were said they shouldn't be taken to the facilities. The guidance now is that the facility will be receiving those recent test results. What we want, what we are not advising is the recent test results to be put on the file, but the facility should be able to know who's a recent test, who's a recent infected patients. And again, actions should be done there. The actions that are expected for from the recent test results, one is to have the index testing to be done, which we hope could have already been done, but just to emphasize. Secondly, is also to now, if you are seeing a lot of recent testing, to have some community diagnosis and case investigations as to why you're having queries. And I know I've spoken to quite some district health officers and so on, how that can be done. And this should be done as facility in conjunction with the DAS and the Packers from the other line ministries. So those are the actions that are anticipated. And I hope that in due course we'll have a specific echo session dedicated for those. Yeah, so both results are supposed to reach the facilities. The recent results should not be on the file. Reason why it shouldn't be on the file, right now the test that we are using is not WHO pre-approved, but the baseline viral load results will be on the file. So you treat those who are suppressed as if they are silent transfers for now. We are still not testing in the lab to confirm the HIV diagnosis on the suppressed ones. That is done above site. So we've stored the samples, and that will be done in a retrospective nature, and the actions will be done above sites. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sivile. As we get to the dying minutes of the session, we have two important questions that are in the chat box that I would like the doc to take us through. But before we do that, allow me just to invite Mr. Moyo to give us some quick thoughts or comments regarding the subject matter. Thereafter, also asking Panji to give us a few comments, and then we'll have the didactic presenter respond to two of those questions and wrap up the session for today. So, Mr. Moyo, any key take-home points that you'd like to emphasize to the network?
So from my end, I think what is very, very key according to what we noted when we're going through around our facilities is that we really need to have a very active appointment system for our clients, because some of the clients are missed because of not really being followed up for phlebotomy appointments. And the other key point is that of ensuring that we have a harmonized appointment system between the pharmacy and the lab, so that the clinical investigations are done as the clients are accessing ART. And the other point to note is that we really need to ensure that at facility level, there is proactive follow-up of the samples as well as the results. And immediately when the results are received, they are put on the patient files. We did triple tally verification with a help from the tool that we got from CDC, which we try to compare what is at the PCR lab as well as what is in the smart care. And we noted that there was a significant number of clients that were actually bred for viral load. Samples were sent, and results are actually sitting in the lab information system. And when we check these results, we found around 50% of these results had already been printed at facility level. So we really need to just strengthen that aspect of ensuring that all results are entered in the smart care. And the other recommendation I would make is to MOH, we really need to expedite the issue of linking the lab information system to the smart care, because for us, if we still continue to have a middleman who is entering the results manually into the electronic health record, we'll continue to have those gaps for as long as we can try our best to close those gaps. But we really need to bridge that gap that is there between the EHR and the LIS. And the viral champion at facility level also, they need to be very proactive in terms of following up of the results and ensuring that they are documented in the smart care. Thank you. Over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moyo, for those very important submissions. And Panji, any quick take-home points?
Yeah, just an emphasis. Most of the points have been said by Douglas, but I think the issue that I wanted to stress, what I think I like the most in the presentation is the idea of working as a team. And I think the thing that I wanted to emphasize from what Douglas has mentioned also, especially things pertaining to the results either for viral load or HIV drug resistance, is for us to work as a team, because sometimes we work in isolation, results are there, but you just can't figure out where the results are. So I think it's important for us to work as a team. We just don't work in isolation. The lab, the nurses, the medical officers, we need to work together as a team so that we know and we're updating each other in real time as far as the results are concerned, so that at least we improve our communication and we try to sort out issues that we can sort out that are within our reach. Otherwise, that was the only thing that I had to say, but most of the things were said by Douglas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mpanji. And as we wrap up, Dr. Sivile.
Yes, for me, it's just an announcement. Next week, we'll have a training on pediatric HIV disease, looking at treatment failure and third line treatment from, this week, sorry, it's starting tomorrow up to Wednesday. Sorry, I was doing last week, so it's this week. So please, let's find time to connect. We have some colleagues, experts from the US, giving these very, very important trainings on treatment failure, especially for pediatrics. I'm sure you've seen the announcements, I think even in the chat from Chatroom. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sivile, for that reminder. And just to mention that the link to that meeting has been posted in the chat. Please copy and paste it in your various WhatsApp platforms as well as email threads and circulate this widely. Thank you so much. Dr. Mwebo, there's a comments about the 2 months maximum regarding harmonization as well as clients who are due for viral load in 3 months. I think in the chats came from Domdos, and another one from Pika Keza, who was asking, how about those who are due in 3 to 4 months? Can we collect viral load from them for the purpose of synchronization? So as Dr. Mwebo is responding to this, he will also wrap up his presentation and upload the show.
Thank you, Chair. So before I respond to the two questions, I'll make a comment on the submission from the doc from ICAP. Thanks, Doc. Those are very good observations. My immediate reaction, first of all, to the viral load campaign is the reason we are doing a campaign is because we failed at health facility level. The health system failed because the campaign is following up those clients who have a viral load that is overdue. They came to the facility and we missed them. Yes, I agree with your submission that once we conduct a campaign, we have high volumes that will fall due in the same time next month. But that brings me to the next point and really emphasizing the issue of harmonization. As we are conducting viral load campaigns now, these clients will have 2 visits. If they are on 6 mmD, the maximum, the least number of visits they'll have will be 2 if they are on 6 mmD. So for the second visit, we need to make sure we have looked at when the viral load is due so that we can harmonize. I used 2 months as an example. Really, the statement is, if you are in the clinical team seeing this patient today, where you need to check when the viral load is due. If the viral load is falling before the next pharmacy appointment you are giving, you need to harmonize so that that viral load will now be synchronized with the pharmacy and clinical visit. So the 2 months was just an example. Even if it's 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, as long as it's falling before the scheduled next a pharmacy visit, you need to synchronize, because what that means is that that viral load will expire on file and the patient will be nowhere. It will be in the community. By the time the patient comes, the viral load will be long overdue. So synchronize when the viral load is still due. I hope that message is very clear so that we can prevent in the future having to do campaigns, because we have a huge number of recipients of care who do not have a valid viral load. And the reasons we want to do these viral load campaigns, because we know some of those recipients of care will be unsuppressed. And when they are unsuppressed, they may have advanced HIV disease and they may progress to become acutely ill and end up being a mortality. So we are talking about life behind these numbers. So that's why we want to ensure we prevent them. So once we have done these campaigns, as they come to the clinic, let's harmonize the visits. Thank you all for the discussions today. I think that we are at a good place to now push this viral load coverage. Based on what Douglas, Mr. Moyo said about this triple verification and harmonization, we know end of September will give us a higher viral load coverage, but we still have room for improvement. We want to get closer to 95%. As a country, we'll get closer to 90, but we want to get closer to 95%. And then going into next year, let's harmonize at every visit. Ask the question, is the client due for a viral load? When is the viral load on file expiring? In line with the next appointment I'm giving this client. If the viral load expires before the next appointment, harmonize on that visit so that we don't have the pressure of having to do campaigns year in, year out. Thank you so much and looking forward to continued improvement. We know when we report the end of September, the viral load coverage has improved from the figures we showed for end of June in the slides. Have a good afternoon.
Right, thank you so much, Network. Thank you to the IT teams led by Chatonda. Thank you to our subject matter experts, Dr. Sivile Mpanji, Mr. Douglas Moyo, and everyone else that participated in today's setup for the session. We really thank you, and also thank the teams that have managed to join in from various centers. A special recognition to those at Nangoma Mission who were very excited to see you, that you had joined us today. Thank you so much. We are happy. Colleagues, have a great week ahead, and looking forward to seeing you in the meeting tomorrow on treatment failure. Thanks, and over.
Bye-bye.